Teachers and schools punish their students in different ways. So in today's video, we're going to be looking over every single punishment from every single country in the world. Some of these are absolutely crazy, and they're only going to get crazier as the video goes along, so make sure you watch to the end. Here we go. So in the USA, you are fined for chewing gum, and then in Cuba, you're made to unclog the toilets with your bare hands. There is no way Cuban schools do that. That is the most unhygienic thing I have ever seen in my life. There is no shot Cubans do this. If you're from Cuba, please let me know if this is true or not. Also, getting fined for chewing gum is actually insane. What do you mean you have to pay someone because you chewed gum? Surely they just spit it out. Next up, we have India, and they're forced to stay in the Mugra position. What is the Mugra position? What is he doing? This? Right, that's a horrible position to be in. Surely that must just be very painful. The Mugra position, whatever it is, it looks bad. Then in Nepal, they're forced to take off their clothing. What do you mean they're forced to take off their clothing? What's going on? This is a school. They're all underage. Nah, that's crazy. If you're from Nepal, please confirm nor deny this. That is insane. So if you've been naughty, your punishment is stripping naked. No way. No way. There is no way. And if that is true, Nepal needs exploding. Let's just tell the truth. That is insane. Albania, they're fined for having their phones in class. I get that. Then in Malaysia, they have to crawl everywhere for the day. What? No, they don't. No, they don't. There's no... I'm looking this up. Damn! They do even worse in Malaysia. They're actually allowed to cane their male student. The Education Act of 1996 of Student Discipline and Regulations, these laws allow for the caning of male students as a disciplinary measure. That's worse than crawling everywhere. Getting caned is insane. Damn, if you're from Malaysia, don't get in trouble at school. Next up in Canada, you get gum stuck to your nose. That's not true. And then in the Netherlands, you have to tidy up after the class. That's good. Fair enough. You should do that. I mean, if you've been naughty, tidying up will teach you some discipline. In England, we have detention during break time, which I personally know is true. So at least some of these things are true. And detentions in school were always so boring. Like, you just sit there and the teacher's just typing on a computer. You're not allowed on your phone. You just got to sit there in silence. The sun's outside. It's a beautiful day. All your friends are outside. But you're stuck inside because of something 9 times out of 10 you didn't even do. English punishments in school are just so annoying. In Australia, you're made to stand on a chair, and then in Puerto Rico, you're made to spit in a bucket until it's filled up. 1, horribly unhygienic. 2, how long would that take? That is insane. And then 3, how much saliva do you have in your mouth to fill up an entire bucket? What do you mean you spit until the bucket's completely full? By the way, guys, if we can get 1,500 likes on this video, that would mean the world to me. So please like this video and subscribe whilst you're at it. I'm trying to reach 1.3 million subscribers. In Italy, they stand and face a wall. Then in Wales, they write lines. In Spain, they watch the class through a window. That is also what happened in the UK, to be fair. You'll be sent out, and there's a window at all the doors, and you can just look through the windows. You're not sent out to look through the windows of the class. You're sent out because you've been naughty, but 9 times out of 10, you just stare back into the class and try and make your mates laugh. In Germany, you're made to tie a ponytail. Then in South Korea, you're beaten with a club. A club? What club? That is crazy. If a teacher beats my child with a club, oh my days. I don't have a child, but if I had a child, I would lose my head. I would go to prison. I could never allow my son or daughter to be beaten by a club by a grown man. That's crazy. Just a quick one. This is Editing Dan here. I just want to thank you all for the love and support on my recent videos at the moment. It's been really, really overwhelming with all the love. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we keep it going. Yeah. Oh my... Yeah, shut up. Anyway, back to the video. In Afghanistan, their hair is cut. Then in Thailand, they have their toes stamped on. That's borderline torture. In Sweden, they get their phones confiscated. And then in Egypt, they're sitting on a frozen pea bag. What? That would be horribly annoying for your bum, but on a nice day it might feel quite good. In Singapore, they're beaten by the head teacher. Then in Croatia, they're made to kneel on corn. Oh my days, kneeling on a hard corn. might be one of the most painful things ever. I haven't even thought of that. It's so hard and rigid, it would hurt your knees so much. But actually, you know what hurt more? Getting beaten by your head teacher in Singapore. That is mental. In Russia, they're made to repeat the lesson again. Then in Norway, they have water poured down their pants. There's no way that's true. In Denmark, they get a message home, which is a common one. Then in Serbia, they hold their hands in the air like this, I guess. That is so annoying. That is so annoying because your shoulders would get so achy, and after like 10 minutes, that would genuinely really hurt. In Myanmar, they're forced to stand in the sun. Then in Poland, they have to run around the school. That's a good one, actually. It improves your fitness. In Vietnam, it's self-criticism. Then in Laos, it's forced to stand for a day. That's actually so bad. Like standing and writing, doing your work and watching the class, that would be so annoying. You know what would be more annoying? For the people sitting behind you in class, seeing you stand so you can't read the whiteboard. That would be the most annoying part. In Brazil, apparently they're roasted by their entire class. Then Algeria, they have to walk on their knees. And in Bangladesh, they have to cut grass. And Belgium have to remove gum from desks. That is the worst one. That is the worst one. I don't care what anybody says. Removing gum from the bottom of a desk? What if it's like wet and slimy? That is disgusting. I would never get in trouble in Belgium. I'm too OCD for it. In Bosnia, the lowest graded student gets expelled. Then in Turkey, they get to sit with the girls. How's that a punishment? That's a great deal. Get in trouble all the time in Turkey. I mean, this one's got nips out. I'm joking. I'm joking. There they are. I'm joking. In the Philippines, they get their hair pulled. Then in Finland, soap scrubbed in their mouth. There is not a chance I'm letting a teacher put soap in my mouth. Are you joking? I'll have to headbutt them. Putting soap in my mouth. What am I? Some sort of weird thing? God, no way. In Georgia, they get punched in the stomach. Then in Brunei, they have to put writing on their head. What? So they put like naughty on their forehead or something. By the way, I just exposed the forehead. Oh God, I've never exposed my forehead on YouTube before. Oh God, you're all going to think less of me now. In Sri Lanka, they're banned from peeing, and in Cambodia's beaten with a ruler. What do you mean you're banned from peeing? That's so stupid. What if you really need to pee and you've got a weak bladder and you've been in trouble in class? I'll just have to piss on the floor. And that's your fault. That's not my fault. That's your fault. You've banned me from peeing. I'll pee on your desk. I'll do an opposite of Cartman from South Park. In Niger, they're forced to eat off the floor. That's crazy. Then in Ukraine, they're forced to do push-ups. That's a good one. In North Korea, if they're naughty enough, they get sent to enlist in the army. What? Don't they all have to enlist in the army anyway? Isn't like enlisting in the army like a mandatory thing? But still, that's crazy. Like imagine being naughty in class and just being like, yeah, off to the army, mate. See you later. In Mexico, they're shoved into a haunted closet, and then in China, they're forced to lift heavy objects. Hungary, they're forced to stand in a corner, which for me, that would be the worst. I just hate standing in corners and just being ignored by everyone. Then in Indonesia, their punishment is saluting the flag, and Bulgaria is kicked out of the class for a day. But that's about it. That's all the punishments from... In today's video, we are going to be reacting to the worst dad punishments from every single country. In different countries, dads are more harsh or more lenient to their children. So, for example, if you did something wrong in England, your dad might put you in your room for a few hours, but if you did something wrong in Asia or Africa, you could be in really big trouble. So let's find out the worst dad punishments from all around the world. Let's do this. Okay, starting things off. India gets a flying shoe, and people from Kazakhstan get beaten with a belt. We've started off with a bang here. What the hell? So Indian kids' dads throw shoes at them, and then in Kazakhstan you just get whipped. That is absolutely crazy. Now for surname, you get kicked out of the house, and in Saudi Arabia you're forced to wash windows. In Nigeria you have to wash toilets, and oh my days, I would throw up. If it's like a public toilet, I think that's my idea of hell. If it's my own personal toilet and my family's toilets, I can deal with that. It's still disgusting, but I can deal with that. But if you're telling me to go and wash a public toilet as a punishment, I would want to die. So best believe I would never ever get in trouble in Nigeria. Now moving on to Argentina, you have no video games, which would suck, especially in today's society. And in Pakistan, they'll just get heated. Okay, so I assume that means they'll just get really angry. I don't really think they'll do anything to you, they'll just get really mad. In Colombia, you're not allowed out of the home, which is fair enough. That's just being grounded. Then in Russia, you're given the silent treatment. I've said this in my previous video where we reacted to the mum punishment. By the way, if you want to go watch that, watch it at the end of the video. But the silent treatment is obviously the worst one you can get. I think that's horrible. Being not spoken to for like days on end is just so annoying. Like, what do you mean you don't want to speak to me? Venezuela get a scolding, so they just get yelled at, which is pretty standard for most countries. Then in Canada, they get spanked. No, they don't. There's no way in Canada they spank their children. There's not a chance. There's no way. Canadian people are way too nice to be spanking their own kids. There's not a chance. I thought Canada would be like, go to your room and read a book, not spanking them on the bum cheeks. If you're from Canada, can you confirm or deny if this is true? Did your dad spank you? And the same goes for all the other countries. Let me know if this actually happened to you. Next up, for all the other countries, let me know if this actually happened to you. Next up, we have China, and they get pulling ears. That is such an annoying thing to be done to you. And in the Philippines, you've got to complete your homework, which is fair enough. And then in the USA, they've got extra study time. That just pretty much means do more homework, which is quite annoying, especially when we have these around now. Phones are so annoying because like I always want to be on them, so when I'm not on them, I'm like, ugh, I want to be on my phone. Now we have Bangladesh, and they have flogging, so I assume that just means yelling at your children. And in the UK, you have no holidays. This is not true. In the UK, I don't know a single person who got no holidays because they were being naughty. You know what happens in the UK? In the UK, my dad would put me in my room, no electronics, no TV, just a book if that. Sometimes we weren't even allowed a book, and I just sit in silence. That's all I did, and it would be up here for hours, and then the food would be brought into my room for like dinner. I wouldn't go downstairs to eat my food. It was a nightmare, but looking back on it now, it would have been great. If it was now and I was put in my room and forced in my room and locked the door and I couldn't leave it, I would love it. It would be brilliant. It would be peace and quiet. I'll be chilling. I'll be like reading a book, having a great time. But that doesn't happen in the UK. I don't know anyone who hasn't been allowed to go on holiday because they've been a bit naughty. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there is some people out there, but not for me. Do you agree with these punishments, by the way? Let me know in the comments. Next up, we have Uzbekistan, and they get aggressive to their children, which is a bit crazy. Then Mexico, they get isolation. That one sucks the most in my opinion. In Greece, they get public humiliation. You're telling me in Greece, if I did something wrong, I've got to walk on the street with my batty out? Crazy! So they just get yelled at for being naughty in public. You know what? I can back that. That's fair enough. In Algeria, they get yelled at, which I think is an appropriate response. And then in Chile, they get insulted verbally. So they get pretty much told that they're a twat. You're an idiot. Canada is back again with spanking. They really want to let everyone know that Canada spanks their children. For some reason, this is Canada propaganda. What do you mean Canada spanks their kids? In Azerbaijan, they slap their children. Then in South Korea, they're not allowed to go to parties. South Korean party culture is insane. In Bolivia, they are spanked, which is obviously not great. I cannot imagine my father spanking me. Like, that would be insane. Like, my dad spanking the shit out of me? Yeah, that would definitely not happen here in the UK. I doubt it happens in many countries, to be fair. Maybe it does. Maybe I'm just not educated enough about hitting your children. That's probably a good thing. In South Africa, your parents will yell at you, or your dad, should I say, they will flog you. And then in Egypt, your dad will beat you on the butt with a stick. Wait, he's just gonna smack the shit out your ass with a stick? That is horrible. In Thailand, you get verbally insulted by your father, and then in Brazil, you get yelled at by your father. Then in Lebanon, you get the hands up treatment by your father, and oh my days, that is so annoying. You just have to have your hands like this in the sky for like 10 minutes. It may not seem like it's hard, but your shoulders get so tired, it's so frustrating, and it genuinely hurts. Like, I'm here for like 10 seconds already, and I can feel my shoulders aching. So if you do it for 10 minutes, best believe whatever you did to put you in that situation, you're never doing it again. So I think this is actually a very good punishment because it hurts, builds muscle, and they won't be doing it again. Now we have the Netherlands, and you get an early bedtime from your father if you've done something wrong, and then in Finland, you get angered, which I assume that just means your dad's getting mad at you. In Indonesia, again, you get beaten on the butt by a stick from your dad. That's crazy to me. Like, that is such a crazy punishment. I can never imagine doing that. By the way, guys, if you haven't liked this video, please make sure you like this video and subscribe. Let's try and get to our biggest like goal yet, 1,750 likes. If we can do that, I will be very happy. So just take a time, like the video, subscribe. Anyway, let's continue. Now we have Peru, and their dads slap them. I cannot imagine my dad slapping me. He's a big man. That would hurt. Romania, they get hands up, which is, I agree, that's a good one. And then in Ukraine, they get locked in a room. If it's a room as small as this picture right here, I'll cry. I'm so claustrophobic. I can't get in a lift. That's a fun fact about me. If there is a lift, yeah, and I am on floor 5, I will walk to floor 5 every single day. Say if I'm on holiday, I will walk to floor 5. However, if it's 5 floors and above, I'll get in the lift, but I'll hate it. So ideally, I'd want to be on the lower floors of a hotel. I much prefer to be lower. It's just the fact of getting caught in a lift would be terrifying. Now we have Spain, where their dads will yell at them, and now we have Myanmar, where their dads will just be annoyed. That's actually alright. They'll just be like, mate, what are you doing? So that isn't too bad of a punishment. In Turkey, their dads beat them on the bum with a stick, and then in Japan, their dads cane them. Their dads cane their children. That's mental. That is crazy. Like, physical abuse should not happen to your children. Like, I get like the slap on the wrist, I get that. I get like an ear pull, I get that. The hands in the air, I get it. You got to like teach them a little bit of a bit of discipline. But beating them with a stick, yo, crazy. Caning them, crazy. France, they slap their children. The dads slap them. They do power slap on their skulls. Then Australia, they're not allowed to go on holiday, which doesn't really make a difference for Australians because they pretty much live on holiday anyway. And then Sri Lanka, last but not least, spank their children. Let's quickly look up what is the worst punishment for a father to their children in certain countries. And here it is. This is the worst punishments that you could possibly get, and the country is Singapore. Dads in Singapore cane their children, which is still legal and practiced in homes, and then they also withdraw privileges from their kids. So I would say Singapore beating their kids is great. But that's about it. Please make sure you like and subscribe. In every country there are different school rules, and some of these school rules around the world are absolutely insane. Some school rules in some countries are very, very unstrict, but other ones are the most strict you will ever see in your life, and it's absolutely mental. So let's take a look at the weirdest school rules. And starting things off, in Japan you're not allowed to date anyone. Then in Russia they have censored history, and in France you're not allowed to wear religious clothing. What? Starting off with Japan, not being allowed to have a romantic relationship is absolutely insane. What do you mean you can't have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Then Russia having alleged censored history, that is kind of crazy. But the craziest one is not being allowed to wear religious clothing. That is mental. This has been around since 1882, and I cannot believe that's actually still a rule. Then in Belarus, you're not allowed to write with your left hand, so I'd be screwed because I'm left-handed. Then in South Korea, you sit according to your height. That might be the weirdest rule I've ever seen so far. So the small people sit on one end and the giants sit on the other. That is crazy. And for Belarus, the only reason they have this left-handed rule is apparently because guns and war equipment is for right-hand users. So left-hand users just aren't a thing. So I can't go to Belarus. In Taiwan, boys can't stand close to girls. And then in Kenya, your hair must be shaved. What? That is insane. Boys not being able to stand close to girls is mental, but being shaved I think is even weirder. Bear in mind though, this is not all schools, it's just certain schools, but some of these school rules in these countries are quite common. Next up in South Africa, you have to believe in Jesus in some schools, and then what? The United States of America has a school in Utah that forbids girls from turning down boys who ask them to dance. That cannot be real. There is no way that's real. What do you mean that's a law? What do you mean that's a rule in your school? What's going to happen if you say no to dancing to someone? Are you going to get slapped with a belt or something? Like, what's that about? In England, you can't say slang words like in it. That isn't actually true. We say that all the time here. And in Ukraine, you're forced to do push-ups if you've done something wrong. And in China, you have shit schedules. You schedule when you poo. What if I had massive, horrible diarrhea and I needed to go and poo? I asked my teacher, I really need to go and poo. And they go, no, you can't shit yet because it's not your time of the day. That is absolutely insane. Next up, we have Nigeria. And in Nigeria, you have to eat dropped food off the floor. So if you drop it on the floor, you have to continue to eat it. In Germany, you're not allowed a crucifix. And in Scotland, you can't say happy birthday. What? Happy birthday band. Authorities worried that singing the traditional song would have spread COVID. So I assume this is just in COVID time, so it isn't around anymore. But still, that's insane. You're not allowed to say happy birthday because they thought it would have spread COVID-19. What do you mean? That was a crazy time in life. Some of these school rules are just absolutely insane, and they're only going to get weirder as the video goes along, so make sure you stick around. And whilst you're here, make sure you like and subscribe, because why not? Next up, we have North Korea, and it's mandatory to join the army in North Korea. Then in Argentina, shaking hands is compulsory. A slight nod is also required to show respect. So if I saw my teacher and I wanted to ask them something, I'd have to shake their hand and nod at them at the same time. Fair enough, it's quite respectful, that's not too bad. In Colombia, there is no yoga. Then in Mexico, locked in a haunted closet. What? That is a school rule? You get locked in a haunted closet? There is no way. I would never get in trouble in Mexico in my life. How is that a rule? Like, if you just get told off, you get chucked in a haunted closet? I mean, I don't really believe in ghosts, but still. Next up, we have no Harry Potter in Benin, I forget how you say it. Then in Wales, you're not allowed to drink water. There's no way. There's no way. That can't be a school rule. That is a human right. That is not true in the slightest. Welsh people aren't allowed to drink water. There is not a chance. A head teacher felt that drinking water in class was a distraction. So if I really need a drink of water in class, I'm not allowed it. That is not true. There is no way. Because someone confirm or deny this in the comments down below. In the USA, you're not allowed to identify as an animal. I mean, that's fair. Okay, I kind of get that. I mean, this furry craze actually scares me sometimes. I'm not going to lie. When people jump around, bouncing around, saying they're like a dog or something. A Florida school reacted to the urban myth about cat litter in schools by banning furries. Yeah, fair. No furries in schools. That is fair. In Cuba, one of the students was made to unclog the toilet with their bare hands. And in the UK, no technology even at home. A London private school does not allow TV or phones during holidays. Well, how are they ever going to find out? I mean, realistically, do they have a security guard watching me the whole time? No, I'm going to be on my phone. That is a crazy school rule. In Indonesia, they get punished by caning. Then in Mongolia, they have to crawl everywhere all day. And in Italy, they have to face a wall as a punishment. In Thailand, the teacher stamps on their toes if they've done something wrong. That is insane. If a teacher stamped on my kid's toes, I would knock them out. And the fact that all four of them were school rules, them last four that I just mentioned, is actually kind of insane. The face the wall one I get, but the other two are a bit crazy. In Palu, you're not allowed to have long nails unless you're a guitarist. Then in Australia, no gingers. What? No gingers? What do you mean no gingers? What? In one of the schools, a ginger hair girl was made to dye her hair to a more natural colour. That is a crazy school rule. That is insane. Isn't that just some sort of racism? I don't know. Canada, you're not allowed to be on skipping ropes, and in Singapore you get punched by the head teacher. One of the people in Singapore got punched by the head teacher because they got a tattoo. Sweden, you get cold water poured down your pants, and then in Peru you're not allowed to have fun. That's a school rule. And then in the USA, you're not allowed maths books. A Florida school banned more than 50 maths books for being too woke. You're not allowed to learn anymore. It's woke, mate. You're not allowed to do it. It's too woke. In Myanmar, you're forced to stand in the sun, which can reach 44 degrees Celsius. Then in Brazil, there's a ban on dancing. Brazilian funk, that's like 90% of your culture. What do you mean there's a ban on dancing? In New Zealand, there is a rule that you're not allowed to play Pokemon. Then in Afghanistan, there's a rule that no girls over the age of 12 are allowed to sing in public in the presence of men. In Belgium, one of the rules is if you get in trouble, you've got to remove all of the gum from under the desk. I would never get in trouble in Belgium. My OCD could never allow it. In Ghana, Halloween is banned, and in India, kneeling is a punishment, whereas Iran, there is a gender split. All schools in Iran are girl or boy schools. If that's true, that is kind of crazy to me, because they have no sort of interaction with the opposite gender. That's a crazy school rule. That might be one of the craziest. Considering that's like the whole country, that's mental. Now we have the USA, where the kids make the rules. In Brooklyn Free School, this school has no tests or grades, and the kids decide what they do. They can even have naps. What a horrible school. You just learn nothing. You just come out of it an idiot. In Georgia, there's a rule where there's a cone of shame. Then in Norway, you must play outside. That's good. But unless it hits minus 15, this is only for one school, but that's crazy. So if it was minus 14 degrees, they still make you go outside and play. No chance, I'll get frostbite. Then in a Pennsylvanian school, smiling is mandatory, no sad faces. In Sri Lanka, you can't piss. You need to hold in your piss until you're dismissed from class. That's quite similar to the UK, but if we really needed a wee, we would just go. We would ask and say, oh, I'm bursting, let me go for a wee, and we would just go. They would not let you wee. That's crazy. Then in Malaysia, there is a restricted fruit. The durian fruit is banned in many places because it smells like someone farted in a sewer. It does stink absolutely horribly. Then in Nepal, you're not allowed to grow your nails. That is a school rule. Which one of these school rules surprised you the most? Because these are different punishments punishments from mothers all around the world. In different countries, mothers punish their children in different ways, so we are now going to react to a video on how every single mother punishes their children from every single country. I've got a few friends all around the world, so I'm going to have to check and see how accurate these punishments actually are. So let's get straight into this. Right, now starting off with surname, I never know how to say it, but apparently they get kicked out of the house, and then in the UK, we get no holidays. That is not true at all. I'll tell you my punishments because I'm from the UK. I got my phone taken away from me. I wasn't allowed to play on my PC. I wasn't allowed my iPad. I wasn't allowed to leave my room. I was just sent to my bedroom to sit here and be bored the whole time. I was allowed to read a book though, but that's about it. But if I did something really, really bad, then the punishment would be more severe. And I never really got grounded. To be fair, I was quite a good kid, but like I would never really get grounded. And if I did get grounded, it was only for a few days. I just wasn't allowed my phone or something. So I never wasn't allowed to go on holiday. That's crazy. Then apparently in France, they slap their children, and then in Spain, they yell at them. I think yelling's a good way to discipline a child, to be fair. Just yell at them, go, you're an idiot. No, I'm joking. Next up, we have Thailand, and in Thailand, they verbally insult their children, and in Egypt, they beat them on the butt with a wooden stick. Really? Surely not. Surely that's not real. To be fair, I did see in the comments on this video that someone said they're from Egypt, and that just isn't true, so I don't know how true this actually is. But I know some people that got disciplined from their parents in crazy ways. Like, borderline, like, mental. Now we have South Africa, and they have flogging. Does that just mean hitting them with a belt, I assume? And then Bolivia, they spank them. What? Could you imagine, like, a 16-year-old being bent over their mum's knee just getting spanked on the bum? Like, that's crazy to me. I've never understood spanking. Like having a child and just having your child, not a child, your child, not a child, pause, having your child around you and just smacking it. Yeah, I don't get that. Really don't get it. Really doesn't make sense to me. Now we have Argentina and...
But before we continue, why is it looks like Ecuador? It looks like Ecuador, not. It looks like Ecuador, the Ecuador flag. It looks like Ecuador. That looks kind of, yeah. But you can see it looks like the Ecuador flag, not just Bolivia. I literally why he add the Bolivian or why he did add Ecuador. Anyways, so back to continue.
There's no video games. That would be the best punishment, in my opinion, right now in this generation, because they just wouldn't know what to do. In Greece, they have public humiliation. What? So if you got, like, bad grades in tests, they make you march around the street with a flag saying, I got bad grades. Surely not. Surely not. Surely not. But the video games one, I actually think is the best idea you could possibly do. If you take away their phone and their video games, they have no access to anyone in the outside world, and they just have their own thoughts, and just got to think about what they've done, and then they'll come around. Depends how harsh you want to be. In Colombia, they're not allowed out of the home. I think that's a very fair punishment. And then in Turkey, they get, again, beaten on the butt with a stick. Crazy. In Ukraine, they're locked in a room. I feel like this is the general punishment from most people from their mothers from when they were younger. Like, they were just locked in a room. Key was thrown away, even though I don't have a key on my door. But you know what I mean. I also think the naughty step was really good when you were really young. When you're like 4 years old, you had to sit on the naughty step. You just weren't allowed to move. But you could move. You could just stand up and walk away if you wanted to. But you never would dare. By the way, guys, if we can get 1,500 likes on this video, that would mean the world to me. So please make sure you like this video and subscribe. 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Do it now. Let me know if you did in the comments down below. Next up, we have the Netherlands, and they get an early bedtime, which again was a punishment in my youth. In Romania, they have hands up. I assume that just means you put your hands above your head for a long time, and then it makes your shoulders or arms ache. That could be a good punishment. It might build some muscle in your arms as well, so it's a bit of a win-win. In Nigeria, they have to wash the toilets. Very good punishment. Nobody wants to wash toilets, so you'll never do that thing that you got punished for again. In Uzbekistan, they slap them, and then in Finland, they get isolation. Isolation is a good one as well. Again, makes you think, makes you go, oh, why did I do that? Why? I'm never going to do that again, because now I'm going to have to be isolated again if I do stuff like that again. It's just, yeah, it's clever. It's a smart one. Myanmar is next up, and they're not allowed on the television. Very good. But the thing with that is, if you're not allowed on the TV, it doesn't really matter because you've got a phone. Like, if it was back in, well, I say my day, 15 years ago, if I didn't get TV, I'd be like, oh God, I'm gutted. But now I'm like, alright, I don't use TV anywhere, I just use my phone. So if they took away your TV and all your electronics, then yeah, fair enough. I'd say that's a very, very good mum punishment.
Yeah.
Next up we have Pakistan, and they get beaten with a broom. Crazy. And then Lebanon is hands up again. I do think hands up is just to like wear out your arms. In South Korea, a mum punishment is not partying.
So if you're like 10,
You're not allowed to go to a party, I guess. Or no party for your birthday or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But that's a good punishment. That is a very good punishment. I would be annoyed if I weren't allowed to party and everyone else was. Chile's punishment is insulting them verbally, fair enough. And then Algeria, sorry, I was going to say Pakistan. Algeria is yelling. Germany's, I'm going to guess Germany's, oh, never mind, corporal, what the hell? Germany's is smacking the bum as well. What is going on with smacking bums? That's a strange one. Saudi Arabia's punishment is that they have to wash some windows, apparently, from their mothers, fair enough. And then China is pulling of ears. Oh my days, getting your ears pulled as a child was so annoying. Just pulling your ear, like telling, what are you doing? Something naughty. Doing it. Oh, it used to aggravate me. So annoying. It's a good punishment though. It's a good punishment. As long as you don't rip their ear off, then yeah, give them a stern telling off. Stop being naughty. They'll fix up. Canada's. I genuinely don't think mums in Canada punish their kids. They're all too nice. I'm going to say Canada's punishment is that they have to be mean to someone. They're all too nice to have a good punishment. No, never mind. They get spanked. What is going on? Bangladesh. Flogging, does that mean getting beaten with a belt? And then the USA is extra study time. Well, I tell ya, you Americans need more than that, because you're all thick magic. So essentially you just got to do more homework if you're from the USA. Fair enough. That's not a horrible punishment. I'll kind of take that. You get a bit smarter from being naughty. Then in the Philippines, their punishment is doing all of their homework, fair enough. And then in India, a flying slipper. I thought that was just a stereotype. Like, remember the memes you used to see on Vine where they used to throw a slipper and hit someone in the face? There's no way they actually do that. That's crazy. Can my Indian subscribers and fans and followers and family let me know if this is actually true? Like, that's the accuracy they must have on that one. I can't even throw like a ball to the window and get in the right spot, let alone a slipper to my son's face. that is a punishment and a half. In Brazil they get yelled at, and then in Kazakhstan they get beaten with belts. I think that's crazy. I think that is crazy. Then Sri Lanka, they also get spanked. What is it with all these countries spanking people? And then Azerbaijan gets slapped. The spanking thing just is crazy to me. In Russia, they get the silent treatment. I'm not going to lie, this would work on me the best. If I got silent treatment, oh my God. If I got the silent treatment when I was younger, I would lose my head. I'd actually lose my head like completely. I'd be like, why ignore me? Why ignore me? Stop ignoring me. Stop ignoring me. It would just ignore. Oh my God, it would annoy me so much to the point that I'd never be naughty again in my life. But the silent treatment was top tier punishment for me. Like, I hated it. I hated it so much. In Indonesia, they were beaten on the butt with a stick. This sounds painful, to be fair. And then in Mexico, they get isolation. That's sort of similar to the silent treatment, but not in a way, because you're not around other people, so you don't expect to be spoken to. But when you're around people, you expect to be spoken to, and then when they don't respond, it just aggravates me. In Kenya, they get caning. What is that? That looks horribly painful. In Peru, they get a slap from their mother. Surely all of these aren't true. And then in Australia, it's like the UK, they get no holidays, so I don't know how true that is. And then in Afghanistan, they get a haircut.